Here's my prediction. In the next 3 weeks, we're going to see stories from India about mass starvation and mass rioting. And here's why. Millions of men are going to be starving to death because the government has a program where they're giving out money to people to survive the lockdown. But they're only giving it to women, and they're not giving it to men. So here's the situation. India has just ordered a 21-day total lockdown, meaning people can't leave their homes unless it's for absolute necessities like buying food, things like that. Other than that, you can't go outside. The police are on the streets, making sure people stay in. So because people can't go to work and earn money, the government's giving people money so they can buy food. But as you can see, it's only for women. Women to get 500 rupees per month. You see the paragraph below. The direct cash transfer aims to help the poor who have been worst hit by the nationwide lockdown that is imposed to flatten the curve. Now, as you saw from the article, the program's only for women. So men aren't getting any of that money. So for 3 weeks, for 21 days, millions of men are going to be completely without food. And as you can see in these articles, the hunger is already starting. Here's an article from the New York Times 5 days ago on March 30th. For India's laborers, coronavirus lockdown is an order to starve. And basically what they did is they interviewed people who are daily laborers and what they're going through and the hunger that they're going through because they can't work. Here's a quote. Mr. Ravada said, worried lines furrowing his face, "My home is my work. Today was the first time in my life I had to accept food from charity." He said for him, it was a race between whether the virus or hunger got to him first. So, 3 weeks without food. How do you think that story is going to end? Now, the arguments for this that you always hear is that, women are better at distributing the food to everybody. But that argument never really makes a lot of sense because if you just give food to everybody or you give money to everybody, then it doesn't have to be distributed and there's not a risk of anybody starving. This just doesn't make any sense and it's going to get a lot of people killed. And it's going to get a lot of women killed too because when men start going hungry after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, there's going to start being riots, there's going to start being violence, and it's just going to start getting crazy. It's just a really, really bad idea. Not to mention, single fathers, their children will starve. And women may starve too, because if there's only half the people getting money, that's only half enough food for everybody. So if you have a house, let's say with 2 women and 2 men, those 2 women get the money. Okay, great. But now you have 4 people and only enough food for 2. And that's going to go for 3 weeks. It's just a really bad idea all across the board. Just to add a final thought. Do you think feminist groups are protesting this and saying this isn't fair, this is gender discrimination, men are going to starve? Well, the answer is no. They're not really saying anything. And that's just another example of the kind of thing that only MRAs talk about and why we need a men's rights movement. Because for things like this, if MRAs don't say anything, nobody will.